Before we begin this podcast, if you or someone you know is in crisis or needs emotional support, there are tools that can help. You can call Talk Suicide Canada at 1-833-456-4566, or you can text 45645. Coming in the fall of 2023 in Canada, you can also call 988, just three numbers. You can also call the Kids Help Phone at 1-800-668-6868. And the Trans Lifeline in Canada is 1-877-330-6366. In the United States, 1-877-565-8860, or call 911. You are not alone, and you do not need to be alone. Welcome to the We Are the ADHD Family podcast. This podcast is meant to chronicle our family's journey with ADHD, autism, and other discoveries along the way. I reach out to advocates, experts, individuals, and other families that want to raise their voices and empower those on their journey. My name is Mark Smeets, and I am passionate about removing barriers for others through creating connections, building on strengths, and practical problem solving. I am married to Siobhan, a father to two wonderful kids, and all of us have ADHD. We want you to feel like you have power and hope. I would like to honor and recognize the traditional and unceded territories of the Katzie, Kwantlen, and Semiahmoo nations, on whose territories I live, work, and play. So before I dive into what this podcast is, I need to explain what Sunnyhill is. And this is a bit of a cart before the horse podcast, which I wasn't expecting to make. But Sunnyhill is basically a publicly funded assessment for getting your child assessed for autism. In BC, you have two options, probably in every other province too, and just like in the States. You can go the publicly funded route, or you can go the private route. When you go the publicly funded route, Sunnyhill has a 2-year wait list at minimum. When you go the private route, you know what, between a year and a half. That just depends. If you have money and the resources, you can certainly go, it's your choice to go the private route. It's faster and it's just faster. I think the quality of assessment that you get may just depend on which provider you're going to, but it is faster. I wanted to give you, the listener, some pretext before I launch into this and why it's such a big deal and why it's emotional. We waited a long time, and I'm hoping this is worth it. And one last thing, I had to wait a couple hours to record this part. The part that I recorded was maybe about 15 minutes after I got the call, and I would have kicked myself if I hadn't said anything or written anything or recorded something. So it's about as raw thought as you're going to get. So it's March 23rd, and my wife and I just got the phone call from Sunnyhill to schedule Owen in for his assessment, his autism assessment. It has been 4 or 5 years waiting for this moment. This second moment, we don't get the appointment until April, which is fine. We're wondering who the doctors are that we're going to see. And at this point, what's the word? I know there's one doctor we want to avoid because we've seen nothing but bad things said about him. And yeah, I'm just beside myself right now. And I'd probably kick myself if I didn't document this in some way, shape, or form. If you're wondering, I haven't even recorded the podcast episode telling you how we got here. So this is weird. I was thinking about waiting until next week to do that because it's easier with the kids not here. Anyways, I'm just beside myself, and this is shock. It's a good shock. It's shock and it's fear. A bit about the intake process, really quick. The lady we spoke to was really nice. And she asked us for information and she encouraged us to give us tons of it. And we're like, oh, we got plenty. And so um, the questions range from, I'll put my piece of paper. We talked about, social things, sensory things, um, noises bugging him, um, flapping his hands and stuff, how he is in a social setting, what's on gone on in school. Uh, I'm trying to remember what else now, but that I think was kind of in a nutshell, just trying to get some more info. And she made a funny comment about being, hey, we like information. And I'm like, you haven't talked to me yet. And for that matter, my wife. Um, they're about to get a ton of it. My my big our big concern, my wife and I's big concern now is putting the information that we have into context in the form of how a diagnosis sort of would work. Um, in other words, we have all this information. What are the buckets that we need to put the information that we know, have seen, and have documented into this? And so that's the question. That's my next question. And I mean, we went through this once with the one clinic, but I think our daycare just kind of messed us up on that one. But the psychologist that we had wasn't great at peeling back the layers, even though I had information I could have given her. So she was far too easy to just say ADHD because he was just running around. Anyways, that whole episode with that psychologist was actually really funny. Um, he just kept running around the room. It just wouldn't stop. And it was, yeah, that was just weird. Anyways, um, the only thing one thing that also got brought up as well was the psych ed piece. And the psych ed shows the learning disability side of it. And the intake lady had basically said, the psych ed will only happen really if they sort of recommend it. And I said to her, I'm insisting on this right now. And I'm going to be really polite with you with it. I want to know, we've waited this long. We're coming out with as many answers and stuff as possible and want to make it concrete. When you've spent this long waiting for answers, essentially, because you can't afford diagnoses or private diagnoses and stuff like that. When you wait this long for it, it doesn't matter if it comes out autism or not. It's just wanting the answer and wanting to give something a name and to have an understanding. So, more than anything, my wife and I can bridge any gaps to his strengths and make him a force for this world to do good in and to have him feel like he can live to be his full self. That's what this is for me. I don't know. Pretty sure my wife will say the same thing because these are just my thoughts. But yeah. Anyways, I may have some more thoughts later on, but this is a big deal. This is a really, really big deal. if you're listening to this and you're in our shoes at some point, or you were in our shoes, don't stop fighting. Keep advocating. And you don't need to be the strongest advocate. No one's asking anybody to be Hercules, The Rock, none of that stuff. It does take a village. And it takes support. Find your tribe, find your support, and however it looks. Don't apologize for needing it either. And just don't give up. Our kids are worth it. You're worth it. And you're doing the right thing by fighting and by causing trouble, because the system is messed up and it does need to change, and kids do need help, and we can be the ones to do it. Wherever you are, have yourself a great day. Give your kids a hug. Tell them how proud you are of them. Doesn't matter if you just had a fight, just do it. And tell them you see them and you recognize their effort. And I'll tell you what, people who listen to this, the ones that struggle, and even the ones that are just starting on this journey, have been through it, I see your struggle. I see your pain. I see the heartbreak. I do see you. I really do. That's why I started this podcast, because I didn't want families to go through what we did. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. It will be excellent. Do something good, do something kind today. And if you're listening to this, you rock. And I know you do. Okay? There may be more thoughts later. I don't know yet. I need to go eat something. I'm just half shaking right now. So yeah. One last final thought. This is hours later after I recorded this. It's about 7:30 right now at night, that is. I am going to I've taken the rest of the night off and turning my brain off. But there's going to be things to do, paperwork to get ready, and I'll do what I can to talk through that process as we get ready for this. Thank you for listening to the We Are the ADHD Family podcast. If you want to be a guest on the podcast or know someone who would make a great guest, my contact information is in the show notes. This podcast is open to everyone. You don't need to be an expert, just passionate and want to see change. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are not associated with any employer or organization unless otherwise stated.
We are the ADHD family.
If you like what you hear on this podcast, please give the show a rating so it makes it easier for people to find us.